Morning, guys. I just started editing this video and realized without a little bit of backstory it wasn't going to make a whole lot of sense. So I don't know, 3 weeks ago this thing, the air conditioning stopped working. I went to drive it and it just nothing. And it's always worked great. It's an 05, so it's 19 years old. It's always worked great. Never a problem. And then that day, just nothing. So I get home and I start troubleshooting it a little bit, and I am going to include, I've already showed it in the Samurai videos, but I will attach it again at the end of this video, the electrical troubleshooting portion of it. It's super simple, but I can show you the few steps that I took to determine, if it was a fuse or a relay or something like that. So anyways, in my case, it had no Freon left in it, and I don't know, about a week ago, threw one can of Freon in it, and it had the dye in the Freon. I put one can in it, determined that the leak was actually the low side Schrader valve, like right where you hook your gauges up to. That little Schrader valve right there was leaking, and that is the third low side Schrader valve leak I've seen just personally in the last like 2.5 years. My Cobra had that problem, my dad's Tacoma just recently had that problem, and now the Jeep. So that's either it's really coincidental or that's a very common problem to have. So anyways, I put that one can in there, and I fiddled with the Schrader valve enough to where it was not really leaking too bad, and that got me through the weekend. I was house sitting, so I couldn't really do much. And then yesterday is when I went down, rented the pump, and that's where I'll let the video take off, so it'll make more sense. Alrighty, guys. So I just went down to O'Reilly. I was house sitting this weekend, that's why I didn't do it over the weekend, but just went down to O'Reilly to rent a vacuum pump so I can pull it down, pull a vacuum on it. Well, my intention is to change the Schrader valve, and I was just going to change the low side one because that was my whole problem. And this is the third low side Schrader valve I've seen, third bad one I've seen in the last like 2.5 years. So it does happen quite a bit. So I get down there and the guy is showing me the kit that they have with the low side and high side Schrader valves. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's right, because mine said that for the high side I have to replace the dryer. The Schrader valve is part of the dryer and you got to change the whole thing out. He's like, no. So we went out there to look. He pulls the cap off the high side and it just Freon blowing everywhere. I was like, what? All he did was pull the dust cap off and Freon just started exploding out of the high side. Couldn't believe it. So anyway, I'm actually shocked that it's blowing even remotely cool right now. But so I bought the kit. I rented the vacuum pump, and I got this little kit. So it has the high side, the low side, and everything you need to make your air conditioning cool again. But yeah, just couldn't believe that. There was no problem with the high side until just now when he pulls the little dust cap off and it just... The high side one is this guy, this aluminum one that threads on there, and it's got a really weird black ball in there. Well, my little black ball thing I think is torn or something. So, but how much was that little kit right there? $16.08 for these little freaking Schrader valves. So altogether it was $203.06, but they're going to refund me $170 of it as long as I take the pump back within 48 hours. So pretty cool that you can do that these stores offer that. Yeah, so we came outside and he just loosened the cap. I don't think there's hardly anything left in there anymore, but a lot came out when he did that. So yeah, you can, I don't know if you guys can hear that. Yeah, there's hardly anything left in there now. Okay. So that is. Grab the new one real quick. Okay, so here's the old one. Here's the new one. So I just want to clean the threads off real quick in there. Tiny bit of brake clean. I'm just going to, that is oily. I don't want oil in there. Not good. Okay. And you can see they don't give you a whole lot to bite onto. It's almost round. Anyways. Okay. Okay. Should be tight enough. Okay, there's a tiny bit of pressure left in there. She's not going to want to come out, is she? I'll have to get some tweezers. Okay, so I need to match this guy up with the new one. So, hopefully one of them is it. Do you guys see any difference between trying to look through my camera? I guess they're all the same. I mean, I can't imagine why they would give me 3 of the same thing. That's the only thing that's got me perplexed here. I guess I'll just pick one. I'll save all the rest of these, but see, these are 2 different styles right here, and then they gave me the one that I already used. So I got 3 separate high side ones and 3 of the exact same low side ones. Okay, as long as it works, I'll just throw one in there, I guess. Okay, I just kind of did eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Should probably blow that out with air. I'm kind of just clean out this threaded area on the low side here. Spray a tiny bit of silicone on that little black. Feels good. Okay, I guess we'll just have to try that and see if it wants to hold a vacuum. I think that's going to be my best bet. I got it sitting on the box, so. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and turn the pump on, and then I will open these valves and see what happens. You have to open these valves a lot farther than just like where you feel it start to open. You can crack it open. Gauges don't do anything. I had that happen the other day. Like I'll show you right now. Like there, Cracks it open. Oh, there we go. Okay. I can't remember how long. I know you want to leave it for a long time, so I'll probably do a half an hour. Because what you're doing is you're pulling such a vacuum in there that you're boiling off all the moisture in there. So I'll go ahead and set a timer and come back in about 30 minutes. Alright, it's been about a half an hour. It's not going any lower than that. I'm going to go ahead and open the high side also, because that probably should have been open the whole time. And I'm going to wait another half an hour probably. I don't know. Could have sworn that was even lower a little bit ago, but maybe not. Maybe one of these. Oh, I gotta open. Is this one open? That's as far as it'll turn. Hey, wow, that's getting freaking hot. Holy crap. I mean, they're designed to run for long periods of time. Pretty damn hot though. Let's have oil. Hopefully that's enough oil. Man, as much as I really don't want to leave right now. See how I got it back to 24? I did that by tipping this, and I think this oil is actually what lubricates the cylinder that gets the air out. So, plus I don't think this thing should be running this hot. Anyway, it made a different noise when I tipped it, and the vacuum got greater, so I'm gonna run down and buy some oil for it. So sucks, but I think if I can't get it down to minus 29, I'm not gonna be sure that it was actually even boiling off the moisture that was in the system. So I kind of have to do this, but sucks because it's hotter than hell and I don't have AC in this thing. So, but we'll see if it works. Look at this crap, you guys. 134A, and look how much the new stuff is. This is 15 bucks, and they're like 10 at Walmart. 50 bucks a can for the new stuff. Keep changing it, making it more and more expensive. Oh, that was easy, huh? Not. I sure hope this thing works now. Put a little oil in her. We'll overfill it now. There's $13. Okay, let's see. Open this bad girl up and see if it... Oh yeah. It's about what we had earlier, isn't it? So maybe my gauge only goes that low? I don't know. We'll let it cook for another half an hour and we'll see. Alright, it's been about another 45 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and close these valves and let her sit. So we're at about 25. So it's been sitting for an hour and 13 minutes. We're still at negative 25. I am assuming, I mean, that's as low as I'm going to get with this setup. So I am hoping that this gauge is just wrong and it's actually, you know, very close to 30 inches of mercury, and that it did boil off all my moisture. like I said earlier, I would imagine if there was any kind of leak or whatever that was keeping that from getting to negative to 30 inches, then I would have discovered that in the process where it's been sitting for the last hour and 13 minutes. So I'm just gonna pretend like it's good to go, and I'm gonna add the tiniest little bit of oil. Not that normally you would only add oil if you change a part, like a compressor or dryer or something. You know, if you're changing parts out, then you would add a little bit of oil. The only reason I'm doing it is because, for one, I want the dye in it, and for two, it did leak out pretty fast when that guy took the dust cap off earlier. So there's a possibility that a tiny bit of oil came out. I'm more doing it just to get a little bit of dye in there, and I might add a half an ounce or so, and then when I bleed it out of here, most of that's probably going to shoot out anyways. So yeah, it ain't going to be much. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and got that retracted so it's not going to pierce it right when okay, so that's ready to go. Add a tiny bit of oil into this. It doesn't even want to suck it in. There it goes. Alright. A little bit more. Like I said, most of this is probably going to get shot out when I purge it, so that's probably good. Okay. Boy, that stuff's messy. You got it everywhere. Okay. Go ahead and pierce the can. Okay, I heard it pierce. Okay. Got shot out everywhere. Go ahead and purge it a tiny bit more. Don't have my glasses. Okay. Alrighty. Alright, we are purged, so now I should be able to just open this valve and suck it in. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see that gauge. I'll get you a little closer. The bottle's cold. I'm going to go ahead and start it up. Turn the AC on. Okay, you can see it in the sight window there, hopefully. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Oh wow, compressor's already on. That's shocking. I probably don't even have a half a can in here. Back the camera back up. Wow, I'm really shocked that the compressor turned on, because the other day I kept having to bypass it and stuff. Of course, the other day I didn't have a vacuum on the system either. So it's only showing 22 pounds. On the high side, I'm showing about 165. You can see it swirling around in here. So it's taking it nicely. I looked up, I had to do the conversion. I tried to look up how much Freon this vehicle takes because I couldn't find the sticker anywhere. Alright guys, yeah, it was 0.68 kilograms or 680 grams or 1.5 pounds or 24 ounces, which is a 12 ounce can, so it was like almost exactly, it was like 23.986 ounces, so. Oh, what was that? Just heard a psh. Anyway, this can's empty. I'm gonna add one more can. So, to do that, I'm going to go ahead, shut this valve. These are self-sealing cans, so if I back that off, should be able to come out of here without taking me with stuff. Okay, cool. These are $10 at Costco or at Walmart. Best place to get Freon. And from doing research, they all have to meet like the same standards, so you can pretty much get any brand you want. It's all the exact same stuff. Okie doke. Go ahead. You might be able to hear it. Yep, I just heard it. Purge it. Alright, this is what I grabbed to purge it. It's an old BNC to RCA connector back from my security/surveillance days. I couldn't find my safety glasses, so put my Oakers on. Damn, that's cold. Whew. Crazy. Okay, so she should be purged. Open this valve. Do it like this, it should go in as a vapor. Do it upside down, it should go in as a liquid. You don't have to worry too much unless your compressor is very close to where you're adding it at. Like if your low side Schrader valve is right there next to your compressor, you wouldn't want the liquid to hit it, and they call it slugging it. But mine's really far away, so it would be a vapor by the time it gets there anyway, so I'm not really worried about that. Hopefully you can see it all going in there. I probably only have a quarter of a can left. Most of it's in there. You can look up charts and stuff for whatever the temperature is outside. Like if you don't know how many ounces you're supposed to add, you can just add it until your gauges look correct, your low side and high side chart. or like if you've had a leak so you don't know how much you already have in your system. Like I'm starting it from scratch from a vacuum, so I know exactly how much I put in, but a lot of times that's not the case, so you can look it up online and do it that way. But I mean, this is the way to go. These are pretty cheap. I heard somebody say these are only $30-something at Harbor Freight. I thought I paid like $100, but maybe I was thinking of something else. But very well worth it. I've used these quite a few times, a lot more than I thought I would ever use it, honestly. So I would definitely recommend getting a set of gauges. They may not be all that accurate, but at least you can add your own Freon. So, all right, well, this can's pretty much cashed. Check to see if it's cool. Oh yeah. Nice and cool. Very cool. This AC has always worked really well. There we go. Jeez. I got so lucky on this whole deal. This could have been a bad compressor, evaporator. There's so many things it could have been that would have been so much more expensive and harder to do. So yeah, it was really frustrating earlier with the vacuum pump, but I'm still overall super happy. And then we still got pressure in these. So since I still got pressure in both of these, I'll go ahead and open both valves, which will, wow, that put the pressure, pegged it on the low side one. So that should put all the pressure onto this yellow one, so I'll just go ahead and back it off real slow. Take a deep breath. Don't want to breathe that crap in. Go take another breath. There's lots of ways to bleed the pressure out. That's just how I chose to do it. And then I always leave these open so you're not putting pressure on the O-rings in there. Kind of like a torque wrench. You don't want to leave it. You want to back it off to 0. But yeah, I would definitely, if you do anything automotive related, I would definitely invest in a set of gauges, and you can find all the information you need on YouTube. So. Started out at 102, just turned it on. Give it a second here. Rev it up a little bit. Get some oil slung up into the motor. It's already below freezing. That's minus 13. I'm going to let off the gas now. cold enough for me. And then I just put the extra ones that I didn't use out of that kit. I just put them in this bag. I'm kind of getting a collection going of different stuff. So maybe one of these days I won't even have to go to the parts store and I can fix the AC system. But alrighty, guys. Let's see. Oh, still got quite a bit of that left. And then I think for this, I'll either put it back in the box when I return it so the next guy doesn't. But they said they have like 3 or 4 of these pumps, so I may just hand it to them and tell them to divvy it up between all their pumps so that they're full when they rent them out to people and they don't have to deal with what I went through today. But alrighty, guys, well, I certainly appreciate you watching. I know this wasn't like a full-on tutorial on how to fix air conditioning systems. It was just my specific problem where I had bad Schrader valves, but it does actually happen quite a bit. So like I said, I've seen this 3 times on 3 separate vehicles in the last 2 years. So, but again, yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you soon. Take care. Okay, so and you'll know your specific vehicle, but when you turn your AC on, you should hear it click, and the compressor should engage. And let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, so it's kind of hard to see. That's power steering. It's the one below that. So you can see that one down there. You see how the outside part is spinning, but the inside part is not? That's like a clutch. And there's a switch. If you're too low on Freon, that will not engage and start spinning. So, but that could very easily be electrical. So let's troubleshoot and find out why that clutch is not kicking. I mean, in this case, we know why it's not kicking on because there's no Freon, so it's like a safety thing. But what you would normally do is find your fuse panel, and I can't remember. Let's see what we got here. We do have a relay right here, AC clutch, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So what you could do, the one right above that is the starter. So you could literally, it's already running, so I don't need the starter one. So I could take this relay, since we know it's good, I just started the vehicle. And you could put that in there, if you do it the right way. And if that was working, we would have heard it click, and it would have started spinning right now. And you can see it is still not spinning. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that back. These bugs are getting to me. Oh, I guess they flip-flop every other one, that's why. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave this out for a second. The other way you can, let me show you another way to check your relay. If you don't have like a spare one that you can just pop in that's a known good, you can go ahead and bypass it. And when you're looking at a relay, let's see, we've got all those things, 87A, 87, 85. On the right hand side, that 85 and 86, that is the coil of the relay. That's what activates the relay. And then 87 and 30 on the left, on the middle, and then the bottom is what would actually close together when you push the button and this coil activates. It's an electromagnet. It sucks that little flap together. I did a whole video on this before. But over here, that little arm that looks like a windshield wiper, when this energizes, it's an electromagnet and it sucks that little arm over. And so instead of 30 being connected to 87A, 30 would then be connected to 87. So that's going to be these two big guys right there. And that's going to be the heavier gauge. So I'm going to get a little jumper wire and just put it in between those two. And we'll see if we can get the clutch to kick on. Alright, so I got a little jumper wire here. Jam that little filler in there. And then should hear a click. Okay, so I just heard the click. Okay, now you See, the clutch is actually spinning, and that's what it would do normally when you push that AC button on the inside, if the relay and all that good stuff is working. So now I come in here and it's still blowing hotter than hell. So I know in my case I have no Freon, so I'm not gonna, you don't want to do that for too long because that's a safety feature. That's why it doesn't let it turn on. But the other thing you can check on these is the fuse. Okay, so if your AC clutch is not engaging, probably the first thing you'd want to, I'm doing this out of order, but probably the first thing you'd want to do, I know we just did the relay, but the first thing you'd probably want to do is the fuse. So there it is right there. It's the upper right one, which would be that guy right there, and there's a bunch of different ways you can check a fuse. So a lot of people will visually check it, which you always want to do that. So that little wafer thing, that little bump in the middle that goes in between from the left to the right, if you visibly see that that's broken, then you know you got a blown fuse. That's all it is. It's literally just a piece of wire, a link from one side to the other. And pretty much every fuse that I've ever seen, they give you a piece of metal on the outside of the fuse that you can probe with like a tool. So I'm going to show you a couple other ways other than visually how you can check them, because I have seen cases where they look perfectly fine, but they're not. They're actually got like a tiny little separation in there that you just can't see. So let me show you several other ways, depending on what tools you have, that you can check your fuse. Alright guys, so one way to check, if you have a multimeter, you can put it on ohms, the little horseshoe symbol. And all you want to do, if you can't remember anything else, you just want for the screen to say the same thing that it says when you touch the two leads together. That means you know you got a connection. So see how it says 0.2 ohms, 0.3, 0.1. A dead short is 0 resistance. And that makes sense. There's no resistance between the two. You're always going to see a little bit because of the resistance in the leads themselves. But anyway, so you could take your fuse and probe each side, and you should get, if it's a good fuse, you should get roughly the same as with your leads, so 0.2. So we know that's a good fuse. But if you don't have a meter, which a lot of people don't, I mean, you can get one for $5 at Harbor Freight, but a lot of people will maybe have a test light, which I've never used this one, but I'll go ahead and check it. So you could do negative or positive. So I'll just hook this to the negative side. Try to. And then, trying to keep this. Let me just do it on there, okay? So I'm just gonna touch one pole to the other side and see how it lights up. That means we know we've got a good connection going through here. Because if it was open, I wouldn't have a connection, right? So I hope my fat fingers are out of the way. Let me do that one more time. So I'm only touching it with one side, and then with my test light. So we know that it's going through there. So that's another way to test. And then if you maybe have, which you probably don't, because I never had one of these till real recently, but one of these, what are these called? I forget what they're called. But you could do the same thing. Let me plug it back in. This is a retake because it was out of frame, but you can see the light right here. Got a red light on that side and a red light on that side. Now if you had a bad fuse, you'd have a red light on one side but not on the other side. So it's a good way to go through and check your fuses. They're not all going to have power on them. Usually if you turn your ignition on, most of them will have power on them, but like this one has ground on it. But anyways, pretty handy way to check. Handy, quick way to check without having to pull the fuses out.